Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Bobcat Corner. This is episode number 56 of Bobcat Corner. This is your host, Stephen Vitt, coming back to you again, reporting just for a couple different things. One officially, and one just speculation. So, before I begin this episode, I want to make a couple announcements regarding the entire channel that I have here, STV Castle. Let's get those announcements out of the way first. And by the way, do not adjust your screen. I am using a different webcam for this episode. I'm once again testing stuff out. Hopefully, you guys like this visual of this new webcam. I'm going to be using this ever so often, like I said, just like the other camera angle that I've been using lately. So let me know what you guys think about this visual that you're seeing here, this camera angle here. This is like a 4K webcam that I'm using here. So again, testing stuff out. But anyway, onto the announcements. First of all, I want to get this out of the way because I don't want to make a big deal about it, but I do want to announce it. STV Castle STV Castle now officially has a Ko-fi account, a Ko-fi page. If you guys know what Ko-fi.com is all about, it's about just making donations to content creators, and it's no different than other stuff like PayPal or whatever. But Ko-fi.com is like if you really want to donate coffee, so to speak, like buy me a coffee. That's like the catchphrase for Ko-fi. You can go ahead and just donate to your favorite content creator. And as I will be showing with this visual here, I have a Ko-fi page, made a visual just dedicated to it. So go to that link that I put out on that graphic. So that's the link for my page on Ko-fi. But anyway, enough about that. The other announcement that I want to make, and this is more important because this has more to do with Bobcat Corner in particular. I would like to announce that officially on June, on July 13th, 2025, this happened just recently. I was invited to, and I've accepted an invitation to the College Huddle. Now, the College Huddle, that is a group of podcasters of dedicated college football fans that have their own podcasts, and they make their own great video content for college football fans to watch. And recently, I was given an invitation from the College Huddle, and I've accepted it. So now it can be official that on the College Huddle, I am representing the great Ohio University. So I'm basically a correspondent, as a fan of the Ohio Bobcats on the College Huddle. So I'll be presenting in the description box below. I'll be putting out links to my page on the College Huddle so you guys can check it out. It's official. So yeah, I was not expecting it, but I'm glad it happened. So once I got that invitation, once I read the initial email, I was like, yeah, let's just do it. And so going forward here, don't be surprised if you hear mentions of the College Huddle because now I'm associated with the College Huddle as a member of that group. So there you go. Anyway, those are the two real announcements that I want to make regarding this channel and Bobcat Corner. So get that out of the way. Let's get to Bobcat Corner episode 56, shall we? So let's start off with the official news, something that's actually, reportedly happened. Um, the officials of the Sun Belt Conference this past week, they got together and they have decided to uh, approve approve a move to get Louisiana Tech from Conference USA. Uh, so I'm reading an article here written by Brett Martel, Associated Press sports writer out of the San Antonio Express News paper. It's titled "Sunbelt Approves Move to Lure Louisiana Tech from Conference USA," AP source says. And I'm just going to read this article real fast, a little bit of it anyway. The Sun Belt Conference has formally approved a proposal to extend a membership invitation to Louisiana Tech, a person familiar with the situation said. The person spoke to the Associated Press on condition of anonymity on Monday because the Sun Belt has not announced the membership offer and Louisiana Tech has not announced its decision to accept it and leave Conference USA. Going further here, the person said it is not clear how soon the Bulldogs will join the Sun Belt, but that it could be as early as the 2026 football season if the university is able to negotiate a departure from Conference USA at the end of the 2025-2026 academic year. And so going further here, another person familiar with the situation said Louisiana Tech had notified Conference USA Commissioner Junie McLeod of its intent to move to the Sun Belt. That person spoke on the condition of anonymity because McLeod had not yet commented publicly on the matter, which was first reported by ESPN. Okay. Now I'm going to stop there when it comes to reading that article, but I will provide a link in the description box to that article for you guys to read in your own spare time. But this was very much expected. If you just connect the dots between all these moves going on in conference realignment, it was very much expected of a move for the Sun Belt Conference to get an invitation going to Louisiana Tech. I referenced it even back on episode 54 of Bobcat Corner with that graphic. G number conference realignment domino effect, I titled that, where I clearly pictured in the middle of that graphic Louisiana Tech, that logo, Louisiana Tech, and pointing that to the Sun Belt Conference logo. So that had to be one of the more expected moves in conference realignment. That had to be, and definitely one of the more logical moves in conference realignment. Definitely one of the most logical that I've seen in a while. So first off, I'm happy for Louisiana Tech fans out there. They finally get to be in a conference where they can be obviously appreciated, but obviously when it comes to travel, it's better suited for them because at least for right now, they're going to be in the same building, so to speak, with two other uh, Louisiana schools, Louisiana Raging Cajuns and Louisiana Monroe Warhawks. So when you factor that in, it's pretty easy of a decision to make for the Sun Belt Conference to just go ahead and invite Louisiana Tech. It benefits both sides. It's no different than the Texas State to the Pac-12 move. It benefits both sides. And if you have a move that benefits both sides, why wouldn't both sides do it ultimately? So yeah, good move. Louisiana Tech going to the Sun Belt Conference. Foregone conclusion there. So yeah, good move. No arguments there. But now we get into an interesting situation where it's like, okay, now what? What's going to happen next when it comes to conference realignment? In the immediate future, just between you and me, guys, I don't know. Right now, I don't know what is the next domino that's going to uh, fall here when it comes to conference realignment. It could be in the G number level conferences again, could very well be in the power conferences, although I think that's a few years away. But I'm going to get to that in a minute here with the power conferences because they're still factoring in with this conference realignment stuff for another part of this video. But yeah, just read the article carefully by Brett Martel and provide your thoughts in the comment section below if you guys like. So I just want to get to this. What is the next move for conference realignment? Okay, Louisiana Tech, pretty much a foregone conclusion to go to the Sun Belt. What's next after them? Well, we still have issues regarding certain American Athletic Conference teams, Tulane, Memphis, South Florida, UTSA. Those are still at the core of what's going on here with conference realignment. You can't take your eyes off those guys. None of them. You have to keep an eye on them because any moment now, any year now, it just seems like Memphis is going to have the door open for them to go to a conference like even the ACC, which I highly suspect is going to happen. UTSA, that's kind of more up in the air now because you could see scenarios where it's like, okay, they could stay in the American Athletic Conference, they could stay, but they could also be given that green light to go up to even a conference like the ACC if certain things fall their way. I have to put an asterisk there, if certain things fall their way. But again, we're years away from that. But also factor in the Pac 12, what they just did, getting in Texas State. You could see a scenario, and I do see this, you could see a scenario where UTSA could be convinced to make the jump to join Texas State in the Pac 12. But I do think that will take a couple of years at least for that to manifest, to get going. But I would not rule that out. That's all I'm saying about UTSA. South Florida, I'm pretty sure that's ACC. They're ACC bound eventually down the road, way down the road, because I don't see anywhere else for USF to go. I just don't, unless they just want to stay in the American Athletic Conference. Um, and lastly, Tulane, 50-50. You can go anywhere with Tulane. They're academically sound, so that would be a surefire clue that they could be going to the ACC one day down the road again, just like USF. So wait and see. And so I say all that just to circle back to this, because I mentioned this in Bobcat Corner episode 55, where should Ohio consider joining the Sun Belt Conference? Now, when it comes to that one report by Shane Metlin, labeled a rumor, in my opinion, about Ohio supposedly having preliminary talks with the Sun Belt Conference about, among other things, membership. Is it still a possibility? Again, these things have just gotten started not too long ago, guys. So we got to give it time. I have to say this to you guys. We have to give this time to to go, because this could easily be a bogus rumor and nothing more. This could easily turn out to be nothing to it. It had nothing to do with membership in the Sun Belt Conference. It was just establishing relationships, which is important in this day and age. You have to establish relationships whether or not you're going to join a new conference. So anything's on the table. I'm taking a 50-50 approach to that. Right now, I'm not calling it bogus. Right now, I'm not calling it like totally never going to happen, but I'm also not guaranteeing it's going to happen either. You have to take that middle route. You have to take the 50-50 route here when it comes to, oh, is Ohio thinking about going to the Sun Belt Conference? 50-50. That's all I'm going to say. And maybe that's not the answer that a lot of you guys are wanting me to say, but that's my answer right now, for now. But anyway, going on to another part of this, which really, in my opinion, factors in, is that, yeah, you're talking about conference realignments. So, what's at the core of this? Governance. You've heard a word being tossed around in circles among college football fans lately, college sports fans lately, governance, because there's going to be like a new form of governance uh, taking place in college sports, not just football, but other sports as well, all the other sports. And so I've made this graphic here, which I'm going to show to you guys here in a minute here. I've titled this graphic Division One College Football Breakaways, just a visual representation of what I'm speculating about right now. My speculation. This is not confirmation anyway, no confirmation whatsoever, but this is just what I feel is going to be happening down the road, years down the road, like the 2030s. So let's just get to it. Division One college football breakaways, 2030 and beyond. This is where I'm. This is around the time that I'm thinking things are going to start hitting the fan, so to speak. Um, First graphic here, first part of this. Big Ten and SEC. No shock to anybody here. Autonomous, we make all the rules, quote unquote, island. Yeah, I'm separating this into islands, territories. Yeah, Big Ten, SEC, they hold pretty much most of the power right now in governing the sport of college football and pretty much anything else related to sports. And yeah, and you see these numbers attached to all these conferences, which I'm going to get into in a minute because that's been another hot topic, college football playoff. But yeah, Big Ten and SEC, autonomous island. Right now they just do. They have the power, whether we like it or not. They have the power, and there's going to be the main breakaway of all of this is that they're going to break away from everybody else when it comes to governance, actual governance. They're going to have most of the input, most of the sway, most of the decision making powers. It's pretty obvious. And yes, I made a little meme there in the background. Notre Dame in their own boat because they're independent. They're they're independent right now. Notre Dame, they have a question mark over them. Notre Dame has to make a decision here. When we get to 2030 and beyond, Notre Dame especially has got to make a decision as to what they want to do. And I think they're going to be forced to make that decision when we get to that time period. So you have a Big Ten and SEC 4-4. Follow with me about that. Follow along there. Notre Dame in their own boat, but they're going to have to get off that boat and join an island soon, so to speak. Next part of this graphic, Big 12 ACC, somewhat powerful island. That's how I would term that. Somewhat powerful island. As in Big 12 ACC, they have a little bit of power. They have some power. You could still consider them to be, power conferences in the most basic term, power conferences, but not as powerful as the Big Ten and SEC, obviously. But Big 12 ACC, they still have some sort of leverage, some sort of sway, input, at least more so than the next group I'm going to be talking about. Big 12 and ACC find themselves in this middle spot of all this, of all these power struggles. I mean, they have their own somewhat powerful island, quote unquote, 4-4 again. Stay with that. And so they could be doing some negotiating behind the scenes, Big 12 ACC, just not as much force behind it. Let's just get that out of the way. But as long as power conferences go, they're right there with it, with the Big Ten and SEC in general. Autonomy 4. And so down there in the middle here, middle graphic, middle part here, you see all the G number level conferences and even feature the FCS subdivision lumped in along with them. A G number, the place where fair competition still makes sense. In parentheses here, some FCS schools might be promoted. And that is basically a gut feeling of mine where it's like, yeah, that is basically where the group of 6 conferences are going to go at this point. They're going to be in that spot where they're below the autonomy 4, the autonomous island and the somewhat powerful island. Call this place whatever you want to call it, the place where fair competition still makes sense, you know, because all these conferences are fighting amongst each other in this spot. And I put the big number 8 there in that corner for a reason, because I can see uh, more of a breakaway where the group of 6 have their own form of the college football playoff, where it's just involving these guys and nobody else. Group of 6 have their own um, 18 tournament. That's been an idea that's been floating around in my mind a lot lately. It's like, okay, all the G6 conferences, they have their champions represented in this tournament, and then you add just 2 wild cards, next 2 best teams, like a 6+2 format with this. You get 8. That's the idea. And honestly, I could live with that. If you want me to be honest with you guys, I could live with it. If Here's how I phrase it. Whether the Ohio Bobcats are in the MAC or they decide to join the Sun Belt conferences, regardless of whether they stay in the MAC or they go to the Sun Belt conference, um, if they're in a position like this where they can even get a wild card spot, so to speak, in this hypothetical 18 tournament, I could live with that. And honestly, I'd be totally fine with it, because I wouldn't have to worry so much about the college football playoff being such a thing. And in the future, we're talking about 2030s here, guys. We're not talking about right now. We're talking about in the 2030s. If it gets to the point where the G6 conferences have to band together like this to have their own tournament and decide their own quote unquote national champion, so be it. That's just my opinion. I think that's basically a wise thing to do at that point. And honestly, there's going to be an event where some FCS schools are going to want to opt in. They're going to want to uh, be financially viable in this sense, and they're going to have to want to jump up to this level, and the G6 are just going to bring them in. And I say, why not? I see it happening. I don't know how much of a guarantee that is, but I do see it happening. So getting through these last parts here, the far right here, IMO, in my opinion, more legal storms are coming before we see any calm in college sports, and I do see that happening already right now. The Deloitte clearinghouse, for one thing, I have a lot of problems with, just from a standpoint of, is this really ethical what these guys are doing? I mean, I know everybody agreed to this, quote unquote, behind the scenes, but is this really what everybody needs right now? Don't know. U.S. federal government intervention is destined to happen, not tomorrow, but years down the road. And especially when we get to 2030 and beyond, I definitely think it's going to happen. I think the federal government is going to step in, whether people want that to happen or not. They're just going to step in and do something about this. I think it's going to happen. And lastly, here, a governing body of sports that is built on an unfair and corrupt foundation is going to collapse once it makes enough mistakes. Okay, so we're entering this new era where we have the College Sports Commission, the CSC. Okay, cute. College Sports Commission. Okay, let's see how they do. First off, let's see what they do. Let's see if they learn from the mistakes of the NCAA. But I'm not going to hold my breath about that. I'm not going to be surprised if more mistakes are made by the CSC going forward, where they were warned previously by the NCAA not to do, but they go ahead and make the same mistakes anyway. I see that happening. And I see the CSC making certain mistakes where players, coaches, ADs, even school presidents are going to strongly disagree with, and they might take legal action against. I think it's going to get that ugly within a few years from now. I don't know how that's going to progress, but I do see it progressing like that. Just my honest take about it. And lastly, here, fans will have to count the cost of not just going to games in person, but also to weigh the significance of their support for their college or sports programs. In other words, how far are we willing to go before we say enough, quote unquote? And I'm not saying that this is going to be the case for every college sports fan out there, and I'm not speaking for everybody, of course, when I say that. But I do see a scenario where some college sports fans and college football fans are going to say enough. Like a few years down the road, I won't be surprised if some of them just walk away from their commitment to watching their favorite sport. I do see it happening when we see a lot of ugliness happen behind the scenes in this sport of college football, especially when the CSC starts making mistakes, and not just little mistakes, but they make really ridiculously big mistakes where legal action is taken against them. I won't be surprised. I mean, I know everybody seems to be on the same page now, agreeing to this, agreeing to that, agreeing to having the Deloitte clearinghouse, yada yada. But I see a scenario where this house of cards is going to fall on itself again. And once that happens, honestly, guys, I think all bets are off. I don't know how that's even going to progress because we're right now in 2025. We're talking about 5 years from now and beyond. A lot can change between now and 2030, and a lot has already changed from 10 years ago to now. So we're going to have to wait and see what goes on when it comes to governance. I, for one, am very skeptical of how this governance is going to play itself out in college sports, especially when you give so much power to conferences like the Big Ten, the SEC, and to a smaller degree, the ACC and the Big 12. I just think we're playing a dangerous game here, guys. And I don't think it's something that we should be messing around with for long. And when it comes to college realignment, when it comes to conference realignment, excuse me, Big Ten, SEC, you hear rumors of them eventually raiding the ACC. of their schools. And then in response, the ACC has to do something about it. They have to find their own schools, their replacement editions. So they look at the American Athletic Conference. And then when you have this snowball effect, which is what I call it, that governance snowball effect, the American Athletic Conference sees that some of their schools have jumped up to the ACC and they have to get replacement schools of their own. So they go to other conferences like the Sun Belt Conference or Conference USA, or even go back to the Pac-12 or the Mountain West Conference, or of course even the MAC. So you see where this is going. Natural progression of a snowball effect, which was coined by a good friend of mine, Bill, that college football guy. Shout out to you again, Bill. So yeah, just watch carefully what happens in these next few years, guys. You have to play the long game here. You can't just look at it short term and say, okay, this move happened, so all these moves are going to happen right now. Can't think like that. So you got to play more of a long game here with this. So that's all I got for now. Hopefully you guys like this new camera angle I'm using now, 4K webcam. Let me know what you guys think. Uh, Feel free to leave comments down below in the comment section. And like I said, have those couple announcements, have a new Ko-fi page for SCB Castle, and I'm now officially a member of the podcasting group called the College Huddle. So this is Bobcat Corner, episode number 56, and this is Stephen Vitz coming back to you again with more content, and I will come back with more. Hope you guys have a good day today. Take care.